What's going on, ladies and germs? Today we're finishing up my buddy Blake's 1992 FXR. Done a lot of work to this bike over the past year or two. It's left and came back a few times, but we're finishing it up for now. We're gonna go ahead and change the exhaust. Blake had actually busted this front head stud. Didn't get film of me changing that, but that's already swapped. We got all new exhaust studs, so we're gonna go ahead and put on the Thunder header today. Basically, Blake got this thing in stock form and after his grandfather passed away, and we've gone through and kind of upgraded things. Some just service work, some more performance based. We got the Galfer rotors up front with EBC brake pads. We've added Race Tech gold valves and the preload adjusters. Inside the motor, it had an issue with the base gaskets. Changed those. Andrew's EV27 cam. Done all the gaskets from top to bottom. What else have we done? Oh, it's got a set of thrash and risers we put on. Converted all the gauges and everything to LED. In the rear, we've added Galfer rotors. Swapped out the original bushings inside the swing arm to spherical bearings. Gives it a little bit more stability. And on the primary side, we've swapped over to a chain drive. We've gotten rid of the compensator and completely changed the whole clutch basket. Deleted the turn signals, put an integrated moon system on. We've done a lot of things to this bike, but what we're finishing up today is the exhaust. Now, he was running a Two Brothers, had some issues with it, cracking. I've repaired it a couple times, but we're just gonna go ahead and swap it over to a Thunder header because everybody knows that Evos sound the best with a Thunder header. So we're gonna do that. We also got a little leak to fix on the transmission top gasket that we're gonna address, and then it should be on the road and ready for him to pick up. So, yeah.
What it do, baby? What it do? Website is live. Go buy yourself some t-shirts or a jacket or a long sleeve or whatever your heart desires. Click the link in the description to get there. Hell yeah!
Had a little bit of leak going on these FXRs. There's a spot on the backside of the transmission that on the earlier ones, the oil filter actually used to mount up underneath the bike. A lot of people don't know that. And unfortunately, they never changed the transmission design, so that pocket where there's a bolt going down in the transmission turns into just a catch-all for oil. And it looks like the top cover on the transmission has split or something's going on with it, so need to figure out what the issue is. I already got a new gasket for it. I got a new gasket for the neutral safety switch as well, just in case. We're gonna change both of them. Hopefully I can get in there a little bit better and clean some of that oil out and get this thing on the road. I mean, it is an FXR, so it's gonna leak a little bit of oil no matter what you do, but we can mitigate the majority of it, hopefully. Get in there nice and deep like. Pain in my ass. Oh yeah, it was loose. Fuck that gasket. Stupid ass paper gasket. Wonder what dumbass put that gasket on there. That was me. I actually used this gasket. Now, when you're cleaning this shit, you want to be real careful not to knock any shit into your transmission. Although, the transmission's a little bit more forgiving than the engine when it comes to debris, you still don't want to chance it. And I don't want to put a new transmission in Blake's bike. So, when you use paper gaskets, I like to use copper spray. It helps it seal a little bit. Don't use silicone on gaskets. That's just ghetto shit. Don't do that shit. But the copper spray as I'm replacing this gasket. The copper spray usually does a pretty good job of kind of helping the gasket seal up a little bit better. Just comes in a can. You can get it from any auto parts store. I use it on pretty much any paper gasket. This is actually the first time I've had an issue with any paper gasket I've sprayed with copper spray. So fuck that gasket. We're gonna use a metal one. So this is metal and it's coated with a rubber. This hopefully will do a lot better of a job sealing off this transmission. Also, I need to make sure. Yep. Sick. All right. There's a couple little chunks of shit. Gotcha, bitch. A little bit of extra time goes a long way with shit. Make the difference of it leaking and not leaking. So this little gasket right here goes onto our neutral safety switch, and the one that was on there was like a harder nylon, so it looked a little bit wet around it, so I'm gonna go ahead and change it. I'm not sure if that's what the culprit was, but we're gonna change it anyway since we're in there. So gasket doesn't quite fit just right. Sometimes on these you gotta thread the gasket on. There we go. That's better. Let me see, we'll make sure that this is all cleaned off, free of crud. Shouldn't have to crank the hell out of this. Nice and tight should be enough. Hoping that gasket's not too thick. It doesn't pull the neutral switch out too far and cause it to not work. But there's only one way to find out. This isn't going to be of much technical value, but we can actually test to make sure that this is working. So the way that these neutral switches work is this is just a contact point, and you have this little ball, okay? This little ball rides on the drum in the transmission. So when this thing is in neutral, this ball is out closing the circuit between here and the rest of the bike. This is basically just a ground switch. So you have power coming from here that runs through the neutral light. If it's in neutral, and I know it's in neutral because I just pushed it up on the lift, when I bolt this thing down, I can basically check, I can probably just hold it down, but I can basically check continuity between here and ground. And if we have continuity, then we know that the switch is working. See, we got continuity. Now, if I go and I put this thing in first gear, it's no longer going to have continuity. That means that it's not in neutral. We know it's not neutral. If I pop it back up into neutral, see if I can do this. Works for me. Wish this thing had studs. Make it a lot easier to make sure that this gasket is placed correctly. It's gonna want to walk around and shit when I'm trying to put that cover on. Gotta fucking know by now, huh? There we go. Blue Loctite. When using Loctite, you don't need a lot. A couple drops is all you need. hopefully that's the end of that as far as the leak goes. At least that leak. So here we have that we've been waiting for almost a full year for this exhaust. This is a brand new Thunderheader. Directly from Thunderheader. I guess they had a problem getting some of the exhaust mount components for this thing. So that's what we've been waiting on for so long, but this is going to be a great addition to this bike personally, and I think a lot of other people agree with me. I think Thunderheader is probably the best sounding exhaust for Evos, and I don't know, they're just timeless and classic, and I love them. Brand freaking new, baby. Let's take a look, see here. Very nice. Hell yeah. First things first. Put this thing over here so I don't scratch it. Damn, I haven't seen these type of peanuts in a long time. You're gonna eat these? Let's see. Watch, watch. It's like a Cheeto. Same shit. Seriously, they melt in your mouth.
Give me one. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. It's weird, huh? Probably not good for you, but hey man, it's good for the environment. It's biodegradable. So the majority, I would say every aftermarket exhaust I've come across do not come with flanges. So either have to get new ones or take the ones off your old exhaust and put them onto this exhaust. Now a lot of people will reuse the old ones. In fact, I'm reusing the old ones, but when we installed the other exhaust that was on there, we bought these new. One thing you want to make sure if you're going to reuse them is that these will actually bend and flex over time and can cause leaks and issues. So it doesn't have to be like precisely flat, but obviously if you can see it like tacoed, then you know you don't want to reuse them. You want to get new ones. One thing I would suggest though is putting new C-clips on. You can reuse the old ones, but over time these actually bevel out and will cause issues with sealing as well. A lot of people like to reuse the old ones, frankly, because they're a bitch to get on, but it's worth it to take the time and pop the new ones on. So what you do is you have your flange, slide it on there, and then you just basically manhandle, as I say, manhandle. Sometimes you have to get a flathead screwdriver, which is what I'm going to do to pop these things. They are a bitch. Nice and tight. Fits into the recess in the flange. We're good to go on that one. There we go. Perfect fit. All right. So these are the exhaust gaskets we're going to use. There's actually two different exhaust gaskets on pretty much every big twin Harley. I prefer these with the Thunderheader exhaust, and other exhausts, if you actually look over here, where the top of this flange is more of a sharp, more of a flat, it sits up against that gasket pretty well. Now the other style, there's actually a flange that kind of comes in an angle, and that's going to be the gaskets that are a lot wider, but they have more of a taper in them. So this is what I like to use with these types of exhausts. You could probably get away with the other type of exhaust gasket, but I've never had a problem with these, and so that's what I use. Oh yeah, here we go. This is the other type of gasket. These are pretty fresh, actually. Probably could have ran them, but you can reuse your gaskets in the cylinder head. Some guys swear that you can take them off and put them back on a bunch of times without changing them, but I don't know. They're cheap enough for me that it's not worth reusing them, even if I just changed them, because this material is really soft, as you can see, and so they kind of mold and form to whatever exhaust system you're running, and obviously we're running a different exhaust than what was on there, so I'd rather just use newer gaskets. It's just easier, less of a headache if it starts leaking. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know why Jeff from the past put that on so damn tight. Sure doesn't need to be. Fuck. I need to be that fucking tight. So we got to run to the hardware store to get some new hardware. The old exhaust bolted onto the front of the transmission case. The new exhaust doesn't use that bracket, and since we can't run that old bracket, this hardware's too long. So, and I could put spacers in it, but it looks ugly. So we're gonna run to the store so I can get some shorter ones and make it look nice. Goddamn Armageddon on the fucking freeway. Fucking Ace hardware, baby. How's it going, man?
Good.
You got some socket head bolts?
What size?
Right here. Boom.
Oh, that's Allen key. Oh.
Yeah. Sick. And of course you don't have the size that I need. Fuck.
Yeah.
Fucking damn it, dude.
Be careful coming closing time, man.
Yeah, right?
Sometimes these things are hard to get off.
Yeah.
Can you use regular bolts?
No, I mean I can, I just don't want to. They don't look right. What I'll probably do is get crafty and cut them down. Not ideal, but it'll work. Where's your flat washer? Perfect. 2? Yes, sir.
That's it?
Yep.
All right.
Appreciate you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if there's a fuel line anywhere. You got fuel line somewhere over here?
Fuel line, what size?
This is fuel line?
Yeah, and then over here I have some more.
Oh, here we go.
What you need?
Let's do 4 feet. Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Uh-huh.
How's it going, man?
Yeah, okay.
Last customer of the day, huh?
I know, man.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it,
bud.
folks.
Have a good night.
Bye, you too.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you have a good one.
Have a good one, man.
All right.
Yeah, they were like closing the fucking doors on us. I'll take it. Last customer of the day. Now we get to go fight the Carmageddon to get back to the shop. Got lucky. we were able to find some hardware that was the correct length, which is awesome. I ended up buying some longer bolts just in case I had to cut these down, but the shorter ones ended up being okay. So this is the bracket that comes from Thunderheader. I know a lot of people complain about these brackets. There's been a lot of companies that make aftermarket brackets for these. I understand why. They look a little flimsy, but from my experience with these and from everyone I've talked to, if you follow the instructions and you mount the bracket in the order that it says in the instructions, you don't have to worry about them cracking. Now, it is kind of funky. This is a rubber mounted bike, so you have rubber mounts back here, you have a rubber mount here, so your engine is going to be moving around. So the fact that you have the exhaust bolted to the engine but then also bolted to the frame, the motor is moving separate from the frame. That does worry me a little bit, but that's what the whole point of this whole rubber dealio is. So we're going to try to use the stock bracket. If it ends up being a problem, it's not that hard for me to make one that mounts off of the transmission. Now, a lot of the aftermarket companies, like what was on here before, use a bracket that mounts to the transmission that holds the rear of the pipe. What this does is this locks the pipe to the drivetrain instead of the frame. It's a better idea in my opinion, but we're gonna go with what they sent and see what happens. Okay. Yeah, this is what's called the P clamp. Basically, it wraps around this back part of the frame. Again, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of what it looks like, but it's what we got. It's like a piece of shit. I have to like force it. You want to make sure you really get your greasy fingerprints all over the exhaust pipe. It's really important for the function of it. Makes the pipe work better and adds like at least 10 or 15.25% horsepower. Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. Hopefully Blake likes it, because that's what matters. No torque specs, no nothing. So we're just gonna send it. One thing I like to make sure with these flange nuts, you try to get them on there evenly. That way you're not kicking the exhaust flange to the side, and you can kind of see by how much of the flange is sticking out of the back side of the nut if you've got them on there equally. Now, you obviously want to tighten these down, but they're only 5/16 bolts. Like, you don't need to crank the shit out of them. You want them nice and snug. And then most likely, after a few heat cycles, when the gasket kind of breaks into the exhaust a little bit, you're gonna have to go back and retighten them. But on initial, I'm sure there's a torque value. I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm just going off of the feel. That's not right. I gotta put this up here. That sucks. It doesn't say in Thunderheader's instructions where exactly on the frame the P-clamp's supposed to go. Now it's gonna be fun fighting to get it off. I can also understand, this this is a very nice bike, but it's not a show bike. Blake rides the hell out of this thing. So it's not as big of a concern, but I can understand why people are concerned with this bracket, because I can see how easily you could scratch up your frame trying to use this clamp. Okay, that is more like it. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay. I'm gonna end up making a different bracket for sure. Oh, you dirty little bitch, come here. Oh, god damn you. Get in there. There we go. Hell yeah. Damn, dude. No room for a fat-fingered ape like myself. I'm just destroying this pipe with fucking fingerprints, too. It's gonna be a smoky bitch when I first fire it up. One thing you learn being a mechanic is how to see with your fingers. I could tell some stories. Stories that are not safe for YouTube, that's for sure. All right. Get some acetone. Oh, yeah, heat shields too. A lot of people don't know this, but I don't know, did I say it before? WD-40 is a really good hand cleaner. It's probably not good for you, but I'll tell you one thing. It works. I think it has something to do with the fact that it's itself an oil, so it like lifts the thicker, nastier oils. Not bad. A little nasty in the nails, but that's okay. Girls dig it. Just kidding. Only one girl digs it. Oh, there we go. And we're back in the shop. We actually ran out of time yesterday when Mr. Ribs Fit Media was here filming, so I'm actually going to take over the rest of this deal with my phone camera. That'll be why the quality isn't as good, although I will say these iPhone cameras are pretty bomb. So what we're going to do now is get finished up putting on the heat shields for Blake's new exhaust, and then we're actually going to end up taking care of some of the wiring on the dash that I had to redo for the fuel sending unit and for the fuel gauge. So check it out. Now what I'm doing here, as you can see on these heat shields, there's these little tabs. So the idea is that these stainless steel clamps end up going inside the tabs, and then that's kind of what wraps it around the exhaust and holds it on there. So that's what we're working with. So as you can see, heat shields are on. Keep you from burning your legs. Damn, this pipe's shiny, man. It's like the most chrome part of the whole bike. So he's gonna be hyped. I think it looks awesome. So next thing we're gonna do is get the dash fitted back on the bike. Now, the reason why we took it off is he was having issues with some of the wiring. So I went ahead and put new wires on here with new terminals, all heat shrinked and nice. I put a new socket for the bulb. The one that was on there, this little piece right here was a little bit too big, and so it was rubbing on this stud. So if you look, there we go. Put a whole new socket on here. It's got an LED light in there to match the rest of the gauges. And then we'll just hook this up and should be good to go. All right, now the dash is back on. Double check that we wired it up correctly. We got a light, we got lights, we got turn signals. So she's good to go. We'll let her charge for a little bit longer, and then we'll get her to fire up and hear that pipe for the first time. I may have got a little bit ahead of myself. Almost forgot. I got to put this crash bar back on, which I left off because, frankly, it's a pain in the ass to do the exhaust with the crash bar on. So we're gonna pop that guy on there real quick before we fire her up. Now we're all done. Let's see how she sounds. Oh yeah, baby. Damn, that thing sounds good. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thing looks good too. All right, guys, that's it for this one. We got the pipe completely finished, the bike's back together, and it's ready to go home. So thank you guys for watching. If you could do me a favor, like and subscribe. Go ahead and check me out on social media. It's Yeti Machine Co. on Instagram, on TikTok, and everywhere else. Thanks, guys.